Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live, and I have pressed the record button, unlike last night, so we're burning gold. I'm your host, Dan Jones, joined as always by four-time national road champion from Australia, Johnny Trevorrow, and Team BikeExchange rider Amanda Spratt joins us. Very special guest. We're going to talk about the women's Tour de France race route, and we'll also talk about you, of course, Spratty, because it's been quite a challenging period so far, and you're about to go under the knife next week.
Yep.
But before we get into that, Johnny, we obviously talked about the Tour de France race route last night, and you're very proud of yourself at how close you got to the actual race route.
Yep. Spot on, mate. We were spot on.
Good chat.
Yeah. So we changed the start time last night of our show to coordinate with ASO's announcing the route, but they took too long, so it was a bit of a chaotic show. But I went with the predictor on this little map on the back here, and we were spot on. So there you go.
Yeah.
But,
and what isn't spot on is your internet.
Stuff.
Your internet looks scratchy again, John. So we'll have to bear with it. If you cut out at any point, we're going to send you into the kitchen next to the modem.
Okay, well, see how we go. Right. We'll see how we go. But excited to have you on, Amanda. Let's
pleasure. It's been a while.
It's been a little while.
We were chatting off air. When was the first time you come on the Detour, Amanda?
I think it was at the very start of the lockdown, when we had the lockdown in Europe, when COVID was in sort of full force in the beginning there, and I was on with Cam Meyer, and I remember I think it wasn't far into the Life of the Detour podcast, or certainly with Iffy, and I remember I came on and he's scrambling around everywhere trying to find a microphone and trying to work the internet and dial into the internet or whatever you do there these days.
Changed.
But I'm saying I'm impressed. You've got the fancy microphone.
No, we're getting there. I know that we did try and get you on after that. There was an event coming up, but it just didn't work. I remember that, but we've got you now.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Well, we encourage people obviously to comment live on Facebook and YouTube. And Janice has kicked things off. She says, "Hi all, welcome, Spratty. Good luck with the operation." I think we might as well go straight into it. And
thanks, Janice.
Maybe give people a bit of insight onto what's happened with the diagnosis and where things are at for you at the moment.
Yeah, I guess going a little bit backwards from that is that, this whole season I've kind of been a little bit off and not performing to the level that I want to. And even if I look sort of late last year and certainly into this year, I've just felt a bit different on the bike. I've had some, really sore legs that are just not normal for me. And I've been racing long enough that I know that in something like the Giro or in the stage races and training blocks, I'm the kind of rider that's always getting stronger and stronger. And now I was just getting more and more tired despite having, I'm doing all the other little things better than what I ever have before. So it all sort of just didn't really make sense. And then obviously the Olympic road race was the tipping point for me, where I was feeling great and then lights were completely out, and it was just, we just couldn't understand why. So, fast forward a bit to August, and I got checked for iliac artery endofibrosis, which is essentially, blockages in the arteries that supply blood to my legs, and they found that I have quite severe blockages there. So I have been told that to continue as a professional cyclist, I need to have the surgery. So that's now what I'm waiting for, and that's happening next Tuesday, actually. So I wouldn't say excited, but I'm certainly relieved to have an answer, and that it's an answer that we can fix with the surgery. So I guess from that perspective, it's nice to get the answer, and also that I was able to get the surgery relatively quickly. We were thinking it might not be until December, January, and then it is quite an extensive rehab time. So sort of best case scenario with the timing, and in for a longer stint of rehab. But, I think looking ahead to next year, then there's many possibilities for goals and races.
Well, interestingly, a little bit of research, I noticed that all the people, quite a few that I've spoken to or read about who have had this, have all come out of it much better from it. So some real positive stories. But I spoke to Stewie O'Grady before, and I remember when Stewie had it done, and he came out of it very well. I was trying to get him on. He couldn't come on, but he sent me He said, tell Spratty, she got to listen. He said,
yeah, she's trying to listen, but you're
major letters.
out.
The most important part.
John, you're going to have to
or maybe,
go into the kitchen.
I'll just
go into
move
the kitchen. If you move into the kitchen, I'll remove you from
keep
the
talking,
studio
and I'll...
All right, John's gone. So I think he's got some good feedback from obviously Stuart O'Grady. But what is involved in the process when they scan for this endofibrosis?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to get an appointment in Holland with, I'm not even going to try to say the name because it's Dutch, but as Australians would say, Dr. Goofshep, but that's definitely not how you say the name in Dutch. But I'm not even going to attempt it. We'll run with that. And it's actually a whole day of testing. So firstly, there's a lot of, I guess, just physical examination and looking at your body. And then under ultrasound, looking at the arteries in just laying and then in like a flexed position. So as you would be cycling. And then I had to jump off and do 50 squats to get my heart rate up and the blood flowing. And then, which was, must admit, that was actually quite hard. And then back
I'd
on.
be lucky to do 5.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, and then he said, get faster and faster. I'm like, oh, geez. Put me in a 150k road race any day, but doing 50 squats.
Yeah.
So then they test again the artery and see what's happening with the blood flow. And then I did a maximal bike test where they measure the blood pressure in my legs and arm and see what's happening there when you get sort of threshold and above, and you give sort of feedback around what your symptoms are and if you're feeling anything bad, I guess. And for me, that was sort of the time where they really said, okay, you definitely have an issue, because when I'm at threshold or above, the blood pressure in my legs is really, really minimal, like hardly any blood pressure at all. So they said, okay, you definitely have blood flow limitations, but now the next step is to get the MRI, and then we need to see how bad it is and exactly what's going on. So then I had an MRI, firstly just laying position, and then again in sort of flexed cycling position, which I don't know if anyone remembers how small an MRI machine is, but not really for the faint-hearted or people with claustrophobia. So that was a bit, I didn't enjoy that one. But again, that was just to get a full idea of what was happening. And it's really important, I think, with this condition is to get all those tests done to really see what's going on and to assess, what the damage is. And so from that, I then had another appointment with the doctor, and he could say, okay, we look at these images and we can see that your artery, I can't remember say if 1 centimeter is a normal diameter for the artery, in the bit where it's narrowed, it's less than 0.5 centimeter now. So it's severely narrowed and causing like a severe blockage when I am cycling and when I am above that threshold. So that was pretty definitive. And then I was lucky, Ellen Bates from my medical team was able to jump on the call with the doctor as well and ask all the questions that I forget to ask or don't, from a medical perspective. So it was quite clear after that I needed to have the surgery if I want to continue and if I want to, continue improving. And, I didn't want to think that I was just getting old. I mean, I know that will come in some years, but I definitely knew that there was a problem. So it was nice to get that sort of confirmed. And I was lucky on the same day. So the doctor and the surgeon, Dr. Mark Bender, who's done many, many of these operations, I was able to meet with him on the same day and sort of talk about the surgery and the options there. So it was one extremely full day, but I sort of came out of it with an answer and a plan. So I'm a planning person. That was nice to have that. And then, just fortunate that our team doctors were able to sort of push through and get a date early.
It's amazing to think, oh, hang on, we're back. Johnny, you're back. I'll put you into your top right-hand corner. Looks like your internet's working great, mate. It's amazing to think that with a blockage like that, and you said, like, you get to the end of races and normally you get better in like a longer tour, but your legs are essentially only getting 50% of the fuel.
And that's like crazy to think about, isn't it? And it's not that it's a bit, and this is what makes the diagnosis hard, is that it's not just a linear progression downwards of just getting worse and worse and worse. You still can have good days. Like I was actually, we just had sort of meetings with our team and for next year and reviewing this year. And I sat down with our DSs, Martin and Alejandro, and they said, okay, obviously knowing what's happened this year, like we need to look at your season a bit differently. But despite your problems, we can still see that you still managed to have your peak in in at the Ardennes, like I was still top 10 in all 3 Ardennes Classics or Amstel, Flèche and Liège. And then, I was still good at the beginning of the Giro. So I still managed to have those peaks, but the performances still weren't quite as good as what I would have expected, or I definitely could notice something was wrong. So I could still have some decent days. But for me, definitely the time when I notice it the most is climbing and, repetitive climbing efforts. And that's my biggest strength as a cyclist. So I think that's why it has been affecting me so much. Maybe if I was another type of rider, it wouldn't have been as noticeable. But yeah, when I go from being able to climb with the world's best and then all of a sudden getting dropped, in one of the first riders getting dropped, then I knew something was wrong.
Was the toughest part of all this, obviously there was relief when you could diagnose what was going on, but mentally, up until that point, all these questions around, well, what the hell is going on? That must have been such a difficult mental period of your life.
Yeah, it was really hard. And I think in the beginning, it wasn't like something wrong. Okay, it's this. It's like I also had a different build. Like I didn't come back to Australia over the winter, summer. So I had sort of a different build into the season. And then I was suffering a bit from anxiety around the COVID and all the restrictions. And, that was quite difficult early in the year. And then I had a few issues with my bike setup. And then I got a bit sick in the Ardennes. So there was always sort of another thing that we said, okay, maybe it was that, or maybe it was this. And then I guess, the Olympics, the Giro, and then Olympics was a time when it was like, okay, like especially after the Olympics, because we sort of sat down and said, what did we do wrong in the preparation? And it was kind of like, went through everything, and there was nothing where I said I cut corners there or this wasn't right. And so that's, for me, I think that was mentally the hardest point there. And I said to Gene, Gene Bates, my coach, why did it have to happen at the Olympics? And he said, well, if it had happened, I said, why couldn't it have happened in a small race in Belgium? And he said, well, if it had happened in a small race in Belgium, we would have said, don't worry, that was just a small race in Belgium. Which is true. It kind of took like the biggest race of my year and something going drastically wrong, and then not sort of figuring out why to really, search for the answers and quickly. And I was fortunate the Australian doctor at the Olympics, Kevin Hernandez, suggested, we needed to rule out this condition first, and then our team doctors, got into action as well and pushed for that. But yeah, I think that was the point where it was mentally the hardest, just not being able to understand why. And I think, those closest to me will know that I was a bit of a mess after the Olympics. You have the normal Olympic come down sometimes. People talk about that and losing motivation and not feeling like riding. But for me, I knew that wasn't the case. Like after Rio, I could bounce back quite well from that and finish my season quite strongly. So yeah, it was more just figuring out why or trying to get an answer. And yeah, if it had been as easy as I just trained too hard or something, then I would have accepted that and moved on. But it was just the fact I didn't have a reason.
Now, John, you've got what Stewie wrote.
Yeah.
Oh, now your audio's not working. You're on mute. John, your audio's not working. You need to plug it in. Anyway, it's a very common injury amongst cyclists. Also, Baden Cook, I think, had it. But obviously, Stewie's been through it and been through the recovery. And talking with Iffy earlier, John, you still need to plug in your mic, mate. Why don't you just reset your computer? It's plugged in, but you're going to have to try something else, mate, because it's definitely not working. All right.
We'll just make it a podcast between us.
Exactly. But with the surgery itself, have they explained to you like what is involved with the surgery and then the recovery process?
Yeah, so there's a few different types of surgery you can have with this. Some people, they might have a kink and they just get that removed and then the artery joined up. But with me, I need the most complicated, I guess you could call it, of the surgeries. So they need to do a vein graft, I think it's called. So what they do is they take out the part of the artery that's damaged, and then they take a vein from my leg, and then they're going to graft that into where the artery was. So yeah, they're essentially using a vein and it's becoming an artery, and they remove the bad part of the artery and the vein becomes the good part of the artery. And then they stitch that all up, and then I face a long rehab. So yeah, it is quite a serious surgery. And yeah, I think, what Iffy was getting at before was also that you just have to be really careful in the recovery in that first period as well, and really listening to what people say. And I know, that there are some great examples of riders who have had it. Stewie's one, Sarah Roy, my teammate now, Annemiek van Vleuten as well. And I've spoken to Annemiek and Roy, and especially Annemiek said to me, okay, when they say 4 weeks, do nothing, then really do nothing. And I think you or I know that, I don't want to say crazy for Annemiek, but, she always pushes the limits of what's possible in rehabs and things like that. So I think when she's giving the advice of really do nothing, then, I'm going to take that on board and do nothing really for that first 4 weeks and just let everything recover and settle. And then after that, it's a really slow build. I think it's looking at about 9 weeks of really not much. Sort of towards the end there, I'll be able to get on the bike and do, I think, at 15, 20 minutes every second day, and then building up to 1 hour a day. And then by week 9 or 10, they said you can go back into full training. And the surgeon has said with, just the loss in training capacity and fitness, that I can expect that it will take sort of 4 or 5 months from the surgery date until I'm at my best again. So that's sort of the timeline I'm dealing with. And I think with an October 19 surgery, then it does put me in an okay shape for, starting the season next year, and then Ardennes Classics are sort of 5-6 months after the surgery. So I think for me, that's a realistic goal. Or, I like to sit down and have goals and things that I can work towards. And that's what I've said. I want to target that and aim for that, and everything going well. But certainly in the back of my mind, just, keeping the advice of many people that have said, just take the recovery seriously and listen to the body, I think.
Is there part of your brain that is so built up with anticipation and excitement to know what the sensations are going to be like with full fuel going to the legs? Yeah.
And I think that's going to be amazing. Because I even think, for example, in Amstel Gold Race this year, I placed 4th, but I just think on the Kalberg, I know it's like everyone's in pain and it's crazy there, but I just know that the feelings I had in my quads are just not normal or not what I've had before. And I still managed to get 4th there. I mean, I was dropped and came back and then came 4th, but I just think it's exciting to think when this is fixed what I could be doing and not have that limiting what I'm able to do. So that part of it is really exciting.
You're saying that you're a meticulous planner. When people said literally do nothing, do you have to plan, okay, I need to get Audible books, I need to line up Netflix series, how are you literally going to do nothing?
I have sort of been planning that. And I've also been planning, I got told after surgery, you need to think about, you need to get you need to plan for immediately after surgery, you won't be able to put your shoes on, and you need to get some stretchy pants and comfortable things. So I was at H&M yesterday trying to find some grandma slippers, just the ones you can just slide your foot in. Because I was like, oh, cool, I just got some Ugg boots. But no, apparently Ugg boots will be a bit too hard to get into because you have to put your foot down and then in. So I just purchased a pair of grandma slippers, €8 bargain.
Nice.
Got some stretchy pants. I'm already thinking about books, and I always have the grand plan that I'll do my tax return in that time. When you have a lot of time and you're I'll be perfect for the tax return. But I mean,
but
we'll
then
see how that goes.
When you're in the thick of it, you go, nah, you're not well, you're recovering. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not good mentally to do your tax return in that moment, is it?
No, that's a punish.
But I've been saving up some Netflix series to watch. So
have you watched Squid Game yet?
No, but I can put it on my list.
It's very gory, but it's
I might put that off the list then.
Yeah, maybe not after surgery. There's a lot of gore.
Money Heist, that's what I'm waiting to watch.
Well, one thing that has helped me in terms of, I didn't realize, I used to love watching those makeover shows. Did you ever watch watching the house flipping shows and stuff like that?
Like Backyard Blitz or?
The ones where they buy a dump and then they do it all up. There's actually a game you can get on the PlayStation. It's called House Flipper. And you literally can take over dumps and clean them up. And, it's so addictive. But if you want to kill at least 4 hours a day and reduce anxiety, House Flipper, I'll send you the link.
No, that could be good. Because I think in lockdown last year, I got into doing all the puzzles, and that would kill about 4 hours. But I'm supposed to minimize just sitting. So I'm
House Flipper. It's so
something
good.
where I can lay on the couch. That'd be
and just redesign a whole house, and you can do all the interiors. And mate,
Do you feel productive because you feel like you're doing something a bit real lifey?
Yeah, I just bought a house recently for 50 grand and flipped it for 130. Oh, it was a dump. Mate, you had to relay the lawn and redo the panels. It was fantastic. Now you're back, John. Your audio's working.
I hope so.
Yeah, you sound crisp.
Right.
What do you want to say?
So the one thing I wanted to reiterate to you, Spratty, is as you see, nothing's changed.
No, we're worse,
still
actually. I don't think the early episodes went like this, but
anyway. Well, yeah. So Stewie had the same operation, and he said he came out of it. It was fantastic, but he said very important. The most important is you have to take your time in the recovery. You can't hurry up the process. A young South African rider who attempted to fly home a bit early, he actually died. So it's the main artery to your groin, your thigh. You have to be extremely careful not to get your heart rate very high, not over 100 for around 4 to 6 weeks. To really listen to the medical advice. After that, it's good to go. He had the surgery in March and raced in the Tour de France and then won the Com Games after that. So he said it was much better with 2 legs.
Yeah.
And he said, but it's important. You can't raise your blood pressure in case of undoing the extremely fragile stitches in the artery. He said he can remember going crazy after a month of doing nothing. And he mowed the lawns and the doc told him off. He says, you can't do that. He said, they can come apart. You can, bleed to death. So he says, so you can't fly due to any pressures, unless it was really, really important, like coming back with the bay quits or something. Other than that, you can't fly. So so anyway, they were the words of wisdom from Stewie. But he said, look,
thanks for sharing.
You'll come out of it $1 million.
Oh, you'll smash it. We've got a couple more live comments. Hello, Spratty from Molly in Bundura.
Molly, my favorite Molly. Hello.
Yes. Carolyn Harbeck says, hello, Dan, John, and Spratty. Annie Matthews says, great to see Spratty looking so happy. Obviously, a good decision to go ahead with surgery. Hopefully, she'll be back in Australia soon. Kirsty Baxter says, evening, Dan and Spratty. Now, Kirsty likes a bet, so maybe get on Spratty for the Worlds next year, given that she'll have 2 legs. Tom Maloney says, fantastically positive how you're handling all of this, Spratty. Don't worry about getting old. That's something you can't change. You're not old, Spratty. Don't worry about that.
Thanks. I'm racing against people in the 2000s now. That's a bit scary.
Really?
Yeah, when you look at the start list, and I still feel like I'm young, and then I look at the birth dates, and I'm like, oh gosh, like 2002 or whatever it is now. Just like, oh gosh, it's happening. I'm old.
Like, I still remember the '99 Millennium New Year's Eve. Remember Y2K? And,
yeah.
Yeah,
my teammates just stare blankly at me now when I talk about things like that.
Don't
worry.
Even when you can say to people, I remember what it was like before internet or mobile phones, they're like, what? Yeah.
Well, it's like when I try to tell people when I first came to Europe and I went to the public phone in the middle of the Italian town and rang home with the phone card from the Indian shop. It's just like... sound like an alien to the young riders now.
You're like €5 and you get like a back and forth for 2 minutes and then that's it.
Yeah, you never know. It could last 20 minutes or it could last 5 hours. Just
that's right.
I used to have to go to the post office in Ghent every Saturday and I'd book a call to Australia and you'd sit there and wait and then after about 5 or 10 minutes they'd say cabin number 3. I'd go to cabin number 3 and they put me through and that was how we called home back in those days.
Oh, gosh. Well, hopefully I'm getting back to Australia this year. There was exciting news today that New South Wales are opening up. They're stopping quarantine, hotel and home quarantine. So luckily I'm from New South Wales, so I'm definitely hoping to get back.
Sensational.
Yeah, hopefully in December sometime, depending on the recovery and not flying too soon. So yeah, I haven't been back since, when was that? January 2020. So it's been too long.
Well, you might get addicted to house flipper and won't want to leave the house.
Yeah. I might stay here then.
As soon as this show's over, I'll be sending you some info about the bay quits. They're coming back on the weekend.
John.
I knew it. I've missed your calls, John.
Just before Nationals on the Wednesday, we're on the weekend before, so 9th and I think it's the 8th and 9th. Just 2 days. two real good stages for you. So I'll talk about it a little later.
All right, I might put my phone on airplane mode for a while. No. Change my number.
All right,
No,
what we're going to do, have a quick drinks break. When we come back, we're going to have a look at the Tour de France race route for next year.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. BikeExchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for zero cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised, and one cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate and conscientious. Every cyclist's death is preventable, and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to BikeExchange and the Amy Gillett Foundation. Now, Spratty, the Tour de France Femmes kicking off in 2022. You're talking about Annemiek van Vleuten before, so she was quoted to say that she's very happy that ASO are taking it seriously, although there's stage 4, which includes 4 sections of unpaved roads, and she's like, not a fan. What's your take on when they slip in these unpaved road stages in tours like this?
Oh, I think it can make it exciting. I think within reason, I think, yeah, as long as it's a safe gravel section. I mean, I think probably what she's referring to is in the Giro Rosa, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had a gravel sector which was really not up to scratch and hardly rideable. Funnily enough, she did end up winning that stage, but I know there were a lot of crashes and a lot of complaints after, and I think that was not really an acceptable gravel sector. But I feel like it's the Tour de France, and I think if they're putting gravel sectors in there, and from what I understand, they're the sectors, or it's the region where they had the Paris Tours, I think, race. So I think they've been raced on before. I think it's just another challenge. And I think when I look at the route announcement, it does look like a course that has something for everyone. And, it has the technical aspects, the flatter stages, the climbs. So I think it's a pretty well-balanced edition.
All right. Well, let's.
I think it's an absolutely brilliant course, actually. And it's funny you're talking about that stage 4. That is, a lot of those roads I watched last week, very similar. I think they are the same roads that were in the finish of the Paris Tours, and that was a fantastic race. And they didn't look too bad, so I reckon it'll be fantastic. Yeah, really good start.
Yeah, and I think we have the Strada Bianca, obviously race, and there's longer sectors there and more gravel. So I think it's just another element of cycling. We're seeing more and more now, and I think it's not a bad thing at all.
All right, let's kick things off with stage 1, 82 Ks, finish on the Champs-Elysees. Looks like a pretty stock standard one that's just circuit racing, yeah? Yeah,
nice pan flat one. So that'll be definitely one for the sprinters, and a short race, but I think I know even from we raced on the Champs-Élysées on that circuit many years with the La Course one-day race, and it's always a hard race because just so much excitement to be racing in such a location.
Stage number 2, 135 Ks. Looks like one for the sprinters.
Yep, I think, we are definitely starting off with a couple of flatter ones. And, I think the sprinters will be eyeing off that yellow jersey to start with.
And then same again, stage 3, a couple of little bumps at the end there, but generally pretty flat as well.
Yeah, I think, there's a bit of a false flat to the finish there. So that could, and obviously with a couple of climbs later in the stage, it could sort of suit an attacking rider later into that stage, or even a breakaway in that stage, I think.
And stage 4, as you mentioned, this is the one with the gravel sectors. And stage 5, it looks like sort of a medium lumpy mountain one.
Yeah, and I think, coming before the 2 big mountain stages, or getting there as well. So I think a breakaway possible for that one. 175
Ks too. It's probably the longest one of the tour.
Yeah, that's a long one. And often we see at the moment that is such a long race for us. So it's always, do we race it more conservatively and it's slower at the start and everyone's a bit scared of the distance? Or, that's why I think for a breakaway, it could be that people are happy for a breakaway to go that doesn't have those sort of GC riders and then get to the finish from there.
Stage number 6, 128 Ks. Bit of a rolling sort of hill stage.
Yeah, and you see again like the climb there with 9K to go, quite a solid climb there, good launching pad I think, and then downhill into the finish line, suit that late attacker.
And then here we go, a couple of monsters to finish things off. Stage number 7 looks pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and from what I understand, that'll be around 3,000 meters of elevation gain for the whole stage, which for us is pretty unheard of in a stage race. And 3 really solid climbs at a really solid percentage. So I know everyone's sort of talking about the next stage we're going to look at, but for me, I think this is almost the queen stage in terms of repetitive climbing and also technical descents. So it's going to really challenge the GC riders that can both climb and descend.
And then stage 8, when Spratty's got 2 fully functioning legs and in yellow, this is when we wrap things up, mate.
Yeah, this is, I like the thinking. Yeah, this is how I want to approach it. But this is a dream stage for me. And nice, iconic climb to finish. And from what I understand, we go onto the gravel road and finish at really the very top. So I think it's such an exciting route because it's going to be, the yellow jersey is going to be switching, and it's really, you're not going to know who's going to win the tour until you get to that very last climb. We saw in the Giro, for example, this year they had the major mountain stage on stage 2, and then the GC was almost sort of done for the rest of the Giro. So I think what they've done really well with this route announcement is they're making it exciting all the way through, and it's going to be game on, race on all the way through to the final meter of the race.
What are your thoughts, Johnny?
Well, I'm just excited because we're going to be there, Spratty. So Dan and I have been working on our plan to get over the Tour de France. So we're definitely going to be doing the Tour podcast for the whole 3 weeks of the men's tour. But we said, hey, we can't not be at this inaugural women's Tour de France. Well, it's not inaugural because I know a few of the girls rode back in the 80s, but first one in a long time, and it's just really, really super. So we'll be there.
Exciting. I think that's the really exciting thing is that I think it's the right decision to have it after the men's Tour de France is finished in that week after. And I really hope that, more broadcasters, and from what I understand, it is the idea that broadcasters will stay for, that extra week and cover our race in full as well, which is going to be really exciting. And I think it's funny, I saw a quote from Tadej Pogačar yesterday saying, when our men's Tour de France is finished, then I'll just hire a camper and probably follow the women's race. So it's nice to see the men also following and supporting us.
Well, it must be good to see. There have been a few riders being vocal, like Cavendish at the women's tour last week was very vocal about, the sport stepping up to the plate. Does it feel like, particularly in the last couple of years, that things are progressing?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in this really exciting time for women's cycling, that it is really progressing. We're seeing more and more World Tour teams. I think they put a limit. I think like last year we had this year 7 World Tour teams, and next year they put a limit on 15, and I think we're going to have 14. So that in itself shows you the progress that we're making.
Yeah.
And seeing, these big races coming up like Paris-Roubaix and Tour de France, and we've got almost all the big races that we want. Even races like Tour of Swiss, Tour of Romandy are going to be there for the women next year. We already had Tour of Swiss this year, but Romandy is a new one. So I think we're just getting more races. And for me, or I think for most of us, the big thing is sort of the live coverage. And, that's also progressing as well. And I think the Tour de France is exciting next year as well, because it will be broadcast worldwide. And I think it's been said often that, finally, when people ask us if we race the Tour de France, because that's the race that everybody knows, even if you're not involved in cycling, then we can finally say yes. And that for, I know as a young rider, I grew up, I always sat at 6 p.m. with my dad and family, and we watched the Tour de France highlights on SBS. And now it's exciting to think that, someone as a young rider now who are watching, they can sit there and they can watch the women race the Tour de France and get inspired. And I think it's the old thing that if you can see it, then you can be it and you can believe it. And that makes such a huge difference. So I think it's just going to really progress the sport massively.
We'll talk about inspiring people. Matt Keenan always tells a story about when you inspired his daughter on the climb. Was it at the Nationals? And they've still got the jersey that you gave them signed, telling them to go after her goals. And it's fantastic. But yeah, it's those little things as an athlete. The fact that you are so humble, Spratty, like how important is it to not forget the roots and not forget what it's like being that little kid watching the Tour de France?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think it's really important also to look back at where you've come from. And maybe, for example, I still love when I'm back in Australia going out on my Penrith Cycling Club bunch ride and going to Penrith Cycling Club and racing the criteriums, or if I'm not racing, then just going and watching and seeing everybody, because these are the people that have been around me since I first started, that have sort of watched me from, the 12-year-old on my first ever road bike, progressing all the way through. So for me, that's really special to remember that and to go back and see them and ride with them. And I also remember when I first came to Europe my first time, and we had the Australian Institute of Sport base. I was a junior coming over for Junior Worlds, but we went and stayed with what was the AIS women's team at that time. And I remember they had a bag of kit that they didn't need anymore. And they said, "Oh, hey, do you want some kit?" And I remember just being so stoked that I got a pair of socks and like a jersey. Yeah. And this meant so much to me. And even getting a bid-in from a team I looked up to at that time, it was HTC High Road. And I managed one day to get a bid-in from them at the feed. And I treasured this bid-in. I didn't want to let go of it at the finish line. And I used that bid-in training every day for weeks and weeks. So it's little things like that at the time are so special to you. And maybe as you get older or you progress in the sport, I think it's nice to remember that and remember what it can mean to a younger rider to receive that support or even just a message or anything like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Now, we're just going to touch on the prize money. I mean, prize money in cycling has never been what it should be, even in men's. Forget that. But the women's has been really noticeable. A lot of comments on the difference in the Paris-Bordeaux, Paris-Roubaix. But I see they've got 250,000 for the women's Tour de France, which is not too bad, and 50,000 this is Euro for the winner. So, what are your thoughts on that?
How are you going to spend it?
On my house flippers, or my going to buy my next house on house flippers, or whatever it's called. No, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think, as you said, people are talking about it more. I think, I saw in Paris-Roubaix it was publicised about the discrepancy in the prize money, and we see it every year at the Giro, for example. I think for a World Tour race, for us, the UCI mandates and says it has to be at least, I can't remember, it might be normally 2,000 or 3,000 euro for a GC win. So now we're talking 50,000 euro. So, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic that they can provide that. And I think if you ask most of us racing, we say the thing that we want the most is, more riders in the sport, more sponsors. And for us, the most important thing is the live TV coverage and sort of, I think when you get the coverage, then the sponsors come and everything comes along with that, including the prize money. But I do think, it's an important topic. And it is also just making a statement that, hey, we do take you seriously and we believe in the project and what it's standing for and the potential of this race. So I think at that starting point, it's fantastic. And I think I was talking already earlier this morning about a race like Tour Down Under, for example, that does have that equal prize money. And there are more races coming and making that statement. So that's, I think, really exciting for us.
Very positive. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know whether you spoke much about the World Championships while I was running around.
No, we didn't.
Organised. Well, it's almost in your backyard, as you might say, Spratty. And I was talking to Stewie. When I was talking to Stewie, he'd driven the course. He said it's very tough. He reckons it's the toughest world title in a while. And he says, perfect course for you, Spratty.
I like to hear that. Yep, cool. I actually haven't seen confirmation of what the course is. I've obviously heard rumors about it, but I obviously know that area quite well. And I wouldn't say spent hours and hours training there, but certainly as a junior and growing up, I've spent time riding down there. And I know there's some really tough climbs, and even around, we used to have a criterium around that area, and it was basically just up, down, up, down. So I'm really hopeful that it's a tough course. And certainly I'm eyeing off, the Ardennes next year, the Tour de France, and then Wollongong Worlds is definitely one that I'm eyeing off, very much so, and hoping for a great form there. And my first World Championships was 2010 in Geelong, and so it's kind of nice to go full again and be back in Australia at a home Worlds. Excited for what it can do.
Yeah, fantastic. No, we're super excited, really excited. So, anything you want to add before we let Spratty go, Iffy?
Well, just on that world titles, we haven't gone into it much, and they haven't announced the course. So I've probably broken a bit of trust there with Stewie. He went around it, but he said it's really tough. We won't tell anybody.
Just our secret. No one's watching.
Just keep it to ourselves. But he said it's he's surprised how hard it is. He reckons that probably good course for Michael Matthews, but right at the limits for him as well. It's really a tough course, but he mentioned that how good it'd be for you. But I can remember how brilliant it was to have the World Championships in Geelong, because my hometown, of course. But I'm just so looking forward to the World Championships in Wollongong, because the area around there was just sensational. It's a beautiful spot. And so, I think there'll be a lot of people starting to book their hotels and whatever right now, because the place is booked. It's going to be really special.
Well, do you think if it goes really, really well, they're going to be the next thing after the Worlds will be the National Championships? When are you going to start mixing it up? When are you going to start taking it New South? This is something they've been talking about for 15 years, Spratty.
Yeah, and it would have been really perfect, in my opinion, to have. And you already give the Australian riders an advantage if we could have managed to have, for example, the Nationals on what it will be the World Championship course, just to have that race experience on a course. I understand it's not as easy as just saying that. There's so many barriers there as well. But, it would be nice to see it get changed up a bit like that.
Definitely. A couple last comments before we go. Janice Ashcroft again. Best wishes, Spratty. Hope recovery goes well. Looking forward to seeing you race again. Lovely to hear from you. And Carolyn Harbeck says, I've booked my accommodation for the Worlds. Yes. I'll be cheering you on, Spratty.
Cool.
So you're going to have a lot of support. And
fantastic.
Really want to wish you all the best with the surgery. No doubt it's going to go well. And no doubt next year is going to be an absolute monster for you, particularly with those 2 legs firing on all cylinders.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Iffy.
No worries. I'll send you that link to that game. So
do it. Yeah, I'll be on.
And I'll send you the invite for the BikeExchange. So all good.
What was that?
You're breaking up, John.
Yeah, no, your internet's out. Sorry.
Good on you, Spratty. Awesome to talk to you.
Thanks.
Take it
See
easy.
you guys.
Amanda Spratt, what an absolute legend. And as we said, super, super humble as well. And I love talking to professional athletes that clearly, they're so well-grounded. They never forget their roots. And she's going to inspire so many other riders, both male and female, for years to come. That's no doubt. Now, before we wrap things up, Johnny, a couple of comments on the Tour de France stage, the race route. Cav, he said there's not as many chances for the sprinters. Yep. When you look at it, there's still 6 flat sprint stages and one that's sort of flat and hilly. So I would have thought that's enough, isn't it?
I'm really looking forward to the 3 days in Denmark, because I've been to Copenhagen a few times. I've raced there, but I haven't been into some of the other parts of Denmark. And stage 2 has that goes over an 18 kilometres long bridge. And they're very worried about it because it's very windy. So can you imagine 18 kilometres of bridge? That's a huge bridge.
That's right. That's massive. And then Whitey was saying that on Cycling News that it's going to be a chaotic opening week, which, I mean, it always is at the Tour. But he flagged the 11 sectors are cobbled on stage 5. That's the one that will make a lot of teams nervous.
Yeah, I don't think it does go over the Arenberg, even though it finishes in the town of Arenberg. When I read it, it doesn't sound like it does, but that will be chaotic. And I reckon that's going to be probably the most challenging stage for the POG for today, Pogacar, because or Pogacar, we'll get like focaccia. I don't remember that focaccia.
It's like your internet, mate. It'll cut in and out.
No, I've got that one right now. But I think, he says he handles the cobbles okay, but he hasn't ridden Paris-Roubaix, and I think he'd be more worried about that stage than any other.
Well, Pogacar said that it was a complete course. He's super excited. And I think he also said he would absolutely shit it in. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's pretty confident.
I know he didn't say that because that's not the person he is. He just, now, one thing we are working on, I know I make these big statements at times, but we're going to get the POG on the detour very soon. We're working on it, and we're going to get him on, and that's going to be sensational.
Yep, we will. But we did promise Eddie Merckx as well. We got very close. And
Eddie chickened out. If it had been in Flemish, he would have done it, he said.
I heard he said he's looked at the quality of the Wi-Fi and said, no, I'm not going to damage my brain. So forget it. Now, before we do wrap things up, Phil's African Safari is firing up on the weekend, I think, if he does another ride. So let's have a quick look at his promo.
Hi, everyone. It's Phil Liggett here, and it's time to get my African Safari on the road again. We're heading back to the Kareka Game Reserve in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, where animals, including the rhino, roam freely. We did 4 great rides in June, and now, with 2 new ones, we're set to go again. There will be eminent guests to answer your questions on the wildlife and also offer an opportunity to win amazing trips to Kareka. We'll chat to one another, and you don't even have to ride, thanks to Full Gas, who will set you up to watch on Zoom when you enroll and make a donation. We have 4 rides, 1 per month, starting on September 19. They last an hour, and if you have a smart trainer, you can pedal your way through the reserve, or you can just sit back with a cup of tea. In either case, knowing that your participation is helping keep the animals safe and free to roam. Come and join me, and all the information you need to have is at kareka.co.za/peloton, and let's go.
Get behind it. It's going to be a great addition. Anything you want to add before we wrap things up, Iffy?
No. Phil was saying this one on Sunday is not suitable to the Aussie time. I think it's 2:00 in the morning, but then the one after that is going to be perfect for us. So, great to talk to Amanda Spratt, who is a real legend. I mean, it's been so frustrating and disappointing to watch her not be able to produce what we all knew she was capable of. You know, we expected her to step up, 2nd and 3rd in the worlds in the previous years, and you just thought, she's going to go close. Olympics. But now we know why, and looking forward to watching her recovery and watching her come back into action next year.
A couple more comments before we wrap things up. Wendy Superfan, she's going to the world. She's booked accommodation. The Wheel Wizard said, never mind the dirt roads. The Femmes Tour stages start and finish towns. We'll be lucky to have one hotel. Looks like ASO saving money and girls staying in school dormitories like in old school Tour de Femmes. Obviously, on that, I mean, it would be ideal if they were staying in, all the best accommodation. They should. But given that it is a big expense for the 8 stages, I mean, it's a progression thing, you'd think, as well, for the Tour de France. And
interesting.
Eventually we'll get there, you'd think, or you'd hope.
Well, I hope the wheel wizard's wrong there. I don't know, and he's not often wrong.
No, he's usually
I
bang
beat him
on.
I beat him on something the other day. I can't remember what it was, but so I don't know if that's the case about the accommodation, because those small towns, there are a lot of small towns, not big hotels, but they spread them right around the region. So I'll find out. I'll do a little bit of research on that one, and next time we come on, we'll see if the wheel wizard's on the money.
Well, we've stayed at many school dormitories with you on the old trips back in the day, mate. We were fine.
Exactly.
Janice says, thanks for having Spratty on. Enjoy your coming time at the Tour de France. Enjoy today's podcast. And Skull, Wollongong, get on it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate your support. And thanks for telling all your mates about the show. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. Got to click subscribe and tell your mates. Get behind the show. We really do appreciate it. And when are we going to be back again, Iffy? We're definitely locked in for Thursday, but we might
well, it's
ping out
every
another
Thursday,
episode till then.
but we've got some invites out to a couple of big hitters. So if they come on, we'll whack a special show on. But, otherwise,
we'll count the days down for the POG.
Exactly.
We will get him. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
This is the winning ride of the Tour de France.